And now, please welcome to the stage Senior Vice President, Chief Talent, Culture, and Operations Support Officer at SoCal Gas, Aaron Smith.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Welcome back from lunch. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's my pleasure today to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. George Pla. George Pla is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and author whose business and civic activities focus on enhancing and empowering communities throughout California. He's the founder, president, and CEO of Cordoba Corporation, a nationally recognized civil engineering firm and construction management firm. Before the term startup was coined, Cordoba Corporation was recognized by the Harvard Business School in a case study that identified the company as a new kind of emerging business model, where the brightest minds come to work for a company that sees the world differently than its major competitors. Today, Cordoba Corporation has 9 offices statewide with nearly 600 employees and is projected to grow to 1,000 employees by next year. Most recently, Cordoba Corporation was ranked by Engineering and News Record as the #1 program management and construction management firm headquartered in Los Angeles. Mr. Pla was an owner-investor in 2 banks, First American Bank and Santa Ana Business, which he sold successfully. Mr. Pla is the governor's appointee to the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum Commission, which is helping prepare for the 2028 Summer Olympics and serves as the commission's president. He is co-founder of the City Club, a premier private club in Los Angeles, known for its diversity, as it was born in reaction to other private clubs that discriminated against women and people of color. Mr. Pla co-authored, with noted academic and political analyst David Ione, Power Shift: How Latinos in California Transformed Politics in America, an all-American story that includes all communities and recounts the history of political empowerment in California and beyond. He is currently working on a second book, which he's set to release later this year. He serves on the California Science Center Foundation Board of Trustees and led the planning of Cordoba Corporation's historic transport of the Space Shuttle Endeavour through the streets of Los Angeles in 2012. Last year, the Board of Trustees of the California State University and Cal State LA conferred upon George the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote. Please join me in welcoming Mr. George Pla.
Wow, it feels like some kind of talk show or something. I know you've all had lunch, so I hope you'll stay awake or stood awake in this long introduction. You know, I was talking to my good friend, Lily Otieno, and I was asking her what to talk about, and she, in that cute accent of hers, says, "Tell him your story, George. Tell him your story." And, you know, I've always looked up to her, mostly because she's 6 feet tall, and decided that I would indeed tell you my story, which is a little different than what you heard from Aaron. I came to the United States in the Tijuana border in the middle of the night with my family. Yes, undocumented. There's a story about people bashing immigrants. A lot of nonsense there. Immigrants have made an enormous contribution in this country, and proud to be here. From the Tijuana border, we came to Boyle Heights in East LA, the Ellis Island. Yes, Boyle Heights in the house. Boyle Heights, the Ellis Island of Los Angeles, where every ethnic group came together. And you know what? It wasn't just to survive, it was to help one another. And it was a beautiful neighborhood to be a part of. So I went to school first day, and there was a problem because I didn't speak English. And so I was a stranger in a strange land. I didn't test well. I'd never seen Tinker Toys. I'd never seen puzzles. There was no Mr. Rogers, and there was no Sesame Street. And you learn through immersion, which is a fancy word for learn from your friends and learn from television. I'm a product of public schools, Huntington Park High School, East LA College, where I got my AA degree. Very proud of that. Without the AA degree, I was going nowhere. Now, that tuition was $6. To this day, education has to be affordable, still in 2024, affordable and available to our community. Tuition was $6, but the books were $100. My father made $500 a week, so how did that work? I got $1.25 exactly for lunch every day. I had to figure that out. Finally got my bachelor's degree from Cal State LA, and very proud of it. I'm a sociology major, and everyone thinks I'm an engineer. And it's like, how could that be? And my answer is that I'm the owner. I got a master's in public policy at SC. And by the way, my GPA was 2.4. Why? Why? Thank you. Because, like many of you, I commuted, I studied, and I worked. And I had 3 jobs, yes, 3 jobs, and I know that what I'm telling you, you all can relate to. But I have a question for all of you. Raise your hand if you were raised with a silver spoon in your mouth. Please all raise your hand. That's what I thought. Because you see, we're all a product of our community. It makes us who we are. We have grit, we have determination, we work hard, and this is why we are where we are. The CEO, Scott Drury of SoCalGas, is a blue-collar guy. He's a regular guy. He started at an entry-level job, and now he's the CEO of SoCalGas. What do you think about that? Right? But as you see him lead, you will know that he leads with the understanding of where he comes from, who we serve, and what communities we are in. As for Cordoba, I started out of my living room. No money, no office, no staff, no business plan, no investors. I remember before the internet, I had files I'd put in my trunk. I would meet potential clients in restaurants, make a pitch, and I hope they didn't order too much because I really couldn't afford the lunch. I would write my proposals, do the work, invoice it, and collect payments. How many of you have done the same? Some of my colleagues today think I'm this pampered CEO. They have no idea. When I hired my first employee, I was scared to death. I now remember picking up the phone, trying to make an offer to this employee, and then I'd hang it up. Didn't want to make the offer. I'd pick it up again, hung it up. I finally, third time, I made him the offer to join us, first employee. You know what his salary was? $1,500 a month. My payroll today is $5 million a month. So I ask you, what is possible? It's just the power of an idea, conviction, and passion. Because you see, it comes from your heart, not your mind. Your mind will overthink it. Your mind will tell you reasons why you can't do something. If you have that conviction from here, you're going to persevere through it all. Some people say that you have to be a little crazy to start a business or run a business. How many of you agree with that? It's absolutely true. My message to the Department of Energy and the utilities that are here is I want you to understand something. We, the MBEs, are sitting, those of you in the audience, risking their families, risking their homes for a dream to provide for their families and give back to the community. My wife says of me that I have no shame and that I don't know the meaning of no. You see, I work on Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, and my daughter said to me, Dad, you're going to run out of the alphabet. People have asked me, what's been your greatest challenge? That's easy. Access to capital and cash flow. How many of you know about that? Since I could not borrow money, my friends joked that, darn George, he couldn't borrow money, so he started his own bank. Now, the only asset I had was my house, which I borrowed on it 3 times. How many of you have borrowed on your house? I would like to introduce an individual who believed in me, believed in my dream, took a risk, and lent me a whopping $200,000, which today to me would be $20 million. That individual is here today. He's still my banker. Alan Wright, would you please stand? Alan. You would be wise to seek him out, those of you that want to borrow some money. He's a heck of a banker. To the utilities and the federal government, let me tell you something. Owners know their products. They know the services they provide. But the reality is that there's an institutional barriers to entry. We all know that. I urge the utilities, Department of Energy, to consider 3 things. And you've dealt with them, but I don't know to what extent. One is prompt payment, not 60 days, not 90 days, not 120 days, net 30. Can you figure that out? What would it do to a business to get going? Owners will tell you what that means. Would like you to consider advance payments. People don't like that word, so I'll call it mobility payment. And that is to advance payments to a vendor, an MBE, on a contract to get the project started. And by the way, I guarantee you they're going to meet the schedule. While you think that's not realistic or to do, easy to do, guess who gets mobility payments? The big firms. They get it all the time, but the MBEs don't. And I urge you to consider that for the MBE community. Since I'm on a roll, let me tell you one more, and that is breaking up big projects and providing an opportunity for MBEs to be a prime. Let me tell you, they understand scope, schedule, budget, liability. Give them the opportunity to be a prime, break up those big projects. You can clap. Break up those big projects, I think they call it bundling, and give an opportunity to the MBEs to be a prime. And let me tell you, in my 40 years, looking at projects, working on big projects, they actually don't work very well. They're complicated, they're expensive, and they're always behind schedule. So I urge you to break them up. To be clear, prompt payment, net 30, mobility payments, and bundling to big contracts are features critical to the success of MBEs. So let me now focus on where energy is today and in the future. I know you've been talking about it. Goals have been set by the regulators and electeds to meet certain goals by a certain time. Are they realistic? No, they're not. But we need to go in that direction. We know that, and we're all working on that. By the way, I've not met anyone that doesn't want clean energy. But it's complicated, moving from natural gas to electricity to hydrogen and beyond. Utilities and policymakers cannot get there without the assistance of diverse businesses who are in the front lines. You see, MBEs have the secret sauce. Let me tell you what it is. They're local, they're technically strong, they're diverse, and they give back. Who else would you want to partner with? Everyone's talking about DEI. DEI, DEI, DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. To me, it's the flavor of the month. We've been DEI our whole life. What are you all talking about? What is the cost of converting to electricity and hydrogen and other renewables when you have families living from paycheck to paycheck? What is that going to cost? How is that going to happen? What programs are in place to help these families? You know who can help you? Diverse businesses, MBEs. They're in the front lines again, I'll repeat myself, can help you achieve these goals that you're trying to reach. By the way, I can't resist. Have you ever tried to warm up a tortilla on an electric stove? Or barbecue on an electric grill? It's just not going to happen. We are partners, not vendors. So should I keep going? All right. Innovation. Where does innovation come from? Did it come from Microsoft or the startup called Apple? When's the last time you were in a bank? Is it national banks today or PayPal, Apple Pay, Venmo? How about a car company that doesn't own cars? Was that General Motors or not? Where do good ideas come from? I propose that utilities and regulators set up innovation offices to foster good ideas. You may tell me you have them, but have you included MBEs? That's the question. And again, where do good ideas come from? Let me tell you the story about the Endeavor. I think it was announced that Cordoba moved the Endeavor. Anybody remember the Endeavor coming to town? Well, Cordoba moved the Endeavor, right? Something that had never been done in the history of the United States, moving a spacecraft through urban streets, from the airport to the Science Center downtown. We took 18 months exactly and scoured every route possible. When you look at the height, which is 29 stories, and the width, there was only one corridor that we could possibly use to move that Endeavor. 2 weeks before we're to move the Endeavor, Caltrans came, Highway Patrol came, and said, you cannot cross that bridge. The Endeavor's too heavy. And we were stunned. Sat there. Senior engineers, NASA engineers in their jumpsuits. I don't know why they still wear jumpsuits. All sitting in this big conference room, silence. What are we going to do? 2 weeks to go, this historic transport, this billion-dollar asset, where kids are going to go learn about space, can't move. So this little engineer, 22 years old, at the end of a long conference table, raised his hand. I have an idea. All these grizzly engineers looked down at him like, who are you? Said, I have an idea. Why don't we use the Toyota truck? What? Why don't we use the Toyota truck? It has the right weight and the torque to pull the Endeavor across the bridge. Wow, no one ever thought of that. So we called Toyota, and we asked them, is this true? And they're like, oh yeah, oh yeah. And they were very enthusiastic. And I immediately thought, they're going to cut commercials, advertising Toyota truck. I said, guess what? We're going to let you use the truck. I had no choice, by the way. We're going to let you use the truck, but you got to write a check to the Science Center for $10 million. They wrote it like in minutes. You know what I thought? I should ask for more. Finally, I just want to compliment SoCalGas, Edison, PG&E, Department of Energy, for sponsoring this conference. I was amazed as I walked around at the interaction. You had the right level of people at both sides of the table, and I think the results that are going to come from this conference are really going to be amazing. And finally, I would say to you, the best partnership is about mutual interest and mutual benefit. Remember, we are partners, we're not vendors. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.